Mike, I like this look. I think it's really interesting to consider what Andy Reid's going to do with his personnel in this game, because DeAndre Hopkins has not been a huge factor for the Chiefs down the stretch here, playing some minimal snaps in the playoffs. You think he has a chance to make an impact here in the Super Bowl?
I do, Will. And look, the number's down to 10.5 here on MGM. Again, I liked it at 13.5. It's still a very different number, though. At 10.5, you are approaching territory that it is essentially one reception in this particular spot. And I'm playing for the scenario where I think Kansas City could be trailing in this game and throwing the football a ton late. So DeAndre Hopkins still one of the better possession receivers. I know he's not the elite receiver that he once was, and there are a lot of mouths to feed, but I love the creativity in this offense. I think they're going to scheme things for him. He's been extremely vocal about chasing a ring, and that's why they moved him to Kansas City here. I think that they personally reward him with a few targets, a few scripted plays early in this game. So I like DeAndre Hopkins here over 10.5 receiving yards at BetMGM.
I bet on a couple of Chiefs rookies to go over, starting with Xavier Worthy, over 5.5 rushing yards. This is a very popular prop that's up to 6.5 in some books, but they can't really run traditional running back plays and gain more than 3 or 4 yards. That's just the way it's been going the last several weeks. They have to get Worthy the ball on these end arounds, on these jet sweeps. He's gone over this in 4 of his last 5. Against this Philly interior, I think we could see maybe 3 potential running plays for Xavier Worthy in this game. So I love that prop. And then on the other side, Jaden Hicks, they bring these rookies along slowly, and then by the time the postseason comes, they're key players. And this kid is playing almost 70% of the snaps now. He outplayed Brian Cook in terms of snap count over the last couple of playoff games. His tackle number at MGM over 3.5 at -154. Some books already up to 4.5, but this number on BetMGM is great. He's cleared this in 4 straight, and with the volume the Eagles have in terms of running plays, that helps you when you're trying to hit a defensive prop.
I'm going to go to the man that everybody's eyes will be on, Travis Kelce, the superstar tight end. I like his longest reception to go over 19.5 yards. Despite having the lowest yardage of his career in the regular season, he hit this over in 10 of 18 games. He is very easily able to crank out a 20-yard reception. Might not get too much else at this point of his career, but he's going to hit you with at least one big play. I think that Nakobe Dean injury I mentioned earlier is massive for Philly. They had been allowing the fewest yards to tight ends in the regular season. They just got carved up by Zach Ertz last round. They actually did not do great against Tyler Higbee either the round before that. So this seems like a trend to me where this is where the Chiefs offense should focus, is getting it to the tight end. So I like Kelce to make one big play, even if he's not going to have one of those vintage 8-catch, 100-yard type of games.
I'm going to go with a over Xavier Worthy first quarter receiving yards, 8.5 yards. Now that is, like you talk about, like Mike gives out the 10.5 for DeAndre Hopkins for the full game. This is, you basically need one catch, right? One catch, whether it's short and he takes it a little ways or whether it's down the field. And I just think they're going to get Worthy involved a lot early because he's so explosive. A couple other things you can look at too, if you want. You can find Xavier Worthy 50+ first quarter receiving yards at 10-1. Again, if they scheme up a shot play down the field and he catches it, or a quick screen that he navigates through traffic and takes to the house, I think you can get there. At that kind of value, I don't think it's that crazy. And to sort of build on what Larry mentioned as well with the Worthy rushing stuff, first to 20 rushing yards in this game. So first player for both teams to get to 20 rushing yards. Xavier Worthy is 30-1. You run a jet sweep, you get the ball first, you run a jet sweep with Xavier Worthy, and he rips off 20 yards, and you're cashing a 30-1 ticket. Sign me up. Now, maybe not everybody's going to go over their total, RJ, including, I guess you can spin this positively and say Patrick Mahomes will go under in a good way on something, right?
Yeah, I'm backing the Eagles overall, so I should be very easy for me to find an under I like in the Chiefs. But the more I looked at it, the under I liked the best was Patrick Mahomes under 0.5 interceptions. I don't think he's going to throw an interception in this game because he never throws interceptions. He's no interceptions thrown in 8 straight games since the regular season loss to the Bills. He has avoided interceptions in 15 of 20 career playoff games. The Eagles, decent getting turnovers, not like great or anything, not like, top of the league. I think I'd be surprised if Mahomes puts the ball in danger. It's going to probably take a lucky deflection for this to cash. So I like playing the Eagles here to not get an interception against Mahomes at only -130.
And I'm going to go the other way on Xavier Worthy. I'm going under on the rushing yards, 5.5 at even money, 6.5. Would wait to play this all the way up until kickoff. But I want to go under here for a couple reasons. Number one, I just think that it's such a big number for someone who didn't go over this number 11 times in games he played this season, multiple games with negative rushing yards. And I think that this particular setup in the Super Bowl, Kansas City is going to run a little bit more shotgun with this personnel and going to have Patrick Mahomes out there. It might be the touch pass, the little forward touch pass that still gets to Xavier Worthy and what looks like a rushing play. But for me, I just think it's also a situation where we could see the fake, we could see the bootleg for Mahomes, the shovel pass underneath off of it. I think there's a lot of creativity with additional time ahead here. And I think Philly knows what's coming with Xavier Worthy. So I see a little trickery there. I'm going to go under on the rushing yardage here.
I've heard a lot of people say that Isaiah Pacheco had a great Super Bowl a couple of years ago and that this is his time, to bust out, and they've been saving him. I don't see it. This guy's been on a downhill trajectory, straight downhill for about over a month now. He just doesn't seem like he's the same player. He got 5 carries for 12 yards last week. Kareem Hunt got 17 carries, and he did catch 2 passes. Isaiah Pacheco caught 2 passes, but normally he is not the receiving back. That is going to Samaje Perine in, 9 times out of 10. He is not going to catch a bunch of passes. So I love his combined under in rushing and receiving. Got it at 30.5, still at 29.5, still very playable to me for a guy who I just think is not a huge part of the offense.
I'm on the same thing, Larry. I've got the under, except you went rushing and receiving. I'm going under with just the rushing at 22.5. I think the number is a little too high. If the Chiefs get a big lead and they're rotating in Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, maybe we're in trouble here. But, you go back to the regular season. When he returned from injury, they gave him 7 carries to start, 14 and 13 the next 2 games where he averaged, well under 3.5 yards per carry in those 2. 9 carries against Houston and then 6 against Pittsburgh to close out the regular season. Didn't play Week 18. And then you have, the playoffs, 5 carries in each of the games for a total of 30 yards. Like, this is – it's not a situation where they don't like Pacheco, and I think that he will be a part of the team, moving forward. Like, I don't think they're phasing him out. I just think they don't believe that he's fully healthy yet, and they don't want to put the burden on him to run the way that he runs when Kareem Hunt has been so effective, as that veteran running back that always emerges for Andy Reid. Plus, if the Chiefs are throwing a lot, we could see a lot of Samaje Perine out there. Only saw 2 snaps, but a big play against the Bills. So I like the Pacheco under rushing yards for sure. Chiefs anytime scorer. Some really good numbers here because just the way that they spread it around, how they handle things. Mike, are you going right back to the DeAndre Hopkins well on this one?
I am. Look, where I think DeAndre Hopkins can still find his way onto the football field is going to be in the red zone. And you can find this between plus 500 and as high as plus 750 for an anytime touchdown here on DeAndre Hopkins. If you watch the AFC title game against Buffalo, they gave him an opportunity right before half. I think that that's where he's most likely to be used, and I think that's a way that they can also reward him. He's still a legitimate threat in the red zone as one of the better possession receivers there. I think this number is extremely attractive and should be around plus 350 to plus 400. So give me DeAndre Hopkins, where, again, I don't think the limited snaps matter as much if they're all coming in the red zone.
We talk about guys that are mispriced. I want to talk about Xavier Worthy at plus 165. He is 3rd on odds for Chiefs players to score a touchdown. He is the leading touchdown scorer for the Chiefs. He has touchdowns in 4 of his last 5 games. So he's trending up in his frequency of scoring touchdowns, and he is the team's leading touchdown scorer. Why is he sitting there behind Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt? I don't get it. Philly's defense, middle of the pack and allowing receiver touchdowns on the season. And then, as we know, we've talked about already, Worthy's in play to score on a rush as well and get him a trick play there, get him the ball in space, see if he can make something happen. So plus 165 is too high for me. I think he should probably be the Chiefs player most likely to score a touchdown in this prop.
Yeah, totally agree, RJ. Look at his last 5 games. 24% is the lowest target share that he has had. So he has really taken over this receiving core, and they will try to get him the ball in a lot of different ways. It may not be a handoff like I think. It might be one of those flip plays like Mike thinks, but there's so many ways they can get him the ball around, and he's been scoring lately. Let's go Xavier Worthy as well.
Yeah, I think the Xavier Worthy play is a great one. I like the Hopkins one, too, just because there's incredible value there. It's hard to find guys with short touchdown odds or long touchdown odds, in the Super Bowl. But you know what? I picked last on this one, and I'm just going to take the layup here with Travis Kelce. You're getting it at plus money. The guy has 24 career playoff games and 20 career playoff touchdowns. He scored twice in the Super Bowl, including 3 years ago, the last time against the Eagles. And I think, you mentioned RJ mentioned the stuff with Nakobe Dean and the issues with the injuries and the tight ends. But Kelce he shows up in big spots, and he's going to be there for his guy Mahomes. And he is so slithery around the end zone. Like, he just makes moves on his own, and he freelances these routes. He gets open. I think they'll be stacking the box they'll try expecting a run there. And don't rule out the idea of Travis Kelce getting the ball in the backfield and running into the end zone for an anytime touchdown. They've certainly been willing to put him in bizarre spots, and they have those crazy formations down by the goal line.